So this is the unknown number 500 since the beginning of the war. She's okay. She's just injured a little bit in her leg. She can't open her eyes, but she's alive. No one knows until now her family. No one survived except her. She was injured inside Taj building and the buildings around. So this girl is alive. If anyone knows anybody about her, just call us. She's in the Shifa hospital now, and she's just a new victim from the carbon.
I've been seeing the argument online a lot that what's going on in Gaza directly relates to us as Americans because the United States is funding Israel with our tax dollars. And while that's true, I don't think that provides the full picture of what's going on. Like, the primary issue I have with that framing is that it implies that the relationship is one-sided, when the United States and Israel are actually collaborating on like a multinational project that involves militarization, racial profiling, and mass surveillance. If you follow me, you might know that I've been doing some Stop Cop City organizing the past year, and I want to share something that a lot of people in the movement know, but I feel like people outside don't really know as much. For the past 30 years, the state of Georgia, through Georgia State University, has been running a program called the Georgia International Law Enforcement Exchange, which kind of is what you would expect. It's basically an exchange program, but instead of it being students who are learning about other cultures and languages, it's police officers that are exchanging notes on how to police their citizens correctly. And though it involves a lot of governments like China, Egypt, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, its like biggest partnership is with the state of Israel, specifically Israeli police. And like the literal founder of this program has said explicitly through this program that Israeli operations in Gaza are a legitimate defensive action against a continuous onslaught of terror that has not been stopped by any other means. He has also accused the silent majority of Muslims as being complicit in Islamic terrorism's presence in the West. I mean, it's not just that. He's literally complained that the First Amendment doesn't let the FBI target mosques. He's also accused Arab American advocacy groups as basically supporting terrorism. And this stuff is effective. Like, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation director has said himself that a partner nation has taught him that the primary threat to democratic countries was terrorism by radical Islam. And racial profiling is just one strategy that this program teaches. They also teach militarization, using certain tactics that even the IDF uses, like racking firearms against protesters, also encouraging police officials to direct their officers to flash the blue lights on the roof of their vehicles while patrolling certain neighborhoods. And everyone knows what we're referring to when we say certain neighborhoods, right? And we can't forget about the surveillance state, like when the Atlanta Police Department, after a trip to Israel, decided to make this video integration center that basically consolidates a bunch of footage from public and private security cameras that they said explicitly was modeled after the command and control center in the old city of Jerusalem. This is all culminating in a $90 million 85-acre police training facility that's being built right outside of Atlanta. And this was never put up to a vote because the majority of locals are against it, by the way. Something I feel like is not talked about enough in contemporary American history is how after the entire country erupted in protest against the brutality and murder of Black people in America, the state and federal government's response to this was not to scale back the police force in any way. Instead, the response was to exponentially increase the funding of the police in America. And it's not just Georgia. I guarantee you, no matter where you are in America, there is a cop training facility or a prison being built near you. And there are so many programs that the United States runs in collaboration with Israel. I just want us to be really clear, like, yes, the United States plays a huge role in supporting Israel and in contributing to the occupation of Palestine. But none of these inhumane methods are localized to that region, because those same strategies are being used on Americans here domestically. I want to end this with a post that someone sent me that's based off of a protest chant in Algeria that says, "We're not freeing Palestine. Palestine is freeing us." Like, we are not the saviors in this situation. Though obviously we can't understand what it's like to be in Gaza at this time, we are very much living under the same system that is orchestrating all of this. And I promise you, we may have the luxury of feeling like there's distance between us and the news right now, but this is a lot closer and this is a lot more immediate than we think.
Did anybody in the Black delegation send for Judith? Did anybody? I'm gonna show y'all what I'm talking about.
Of the Israeli government holding a private convention here in the United States. One of the people in attendance at this secret meeting was Judith Varnai Shorer. She's a former Israeli consul general who was operating out of Atlanta. She was one of the main people saying that the biggest problem that they had was young Black people in the United States. But don't worry, they've got some Black leaders on the payroll.
And I said to myself, ain't no way motherfucking goddamn Meemaw Judith said that. Ain't no way she said that with goddamn dried up electrolyte crust in the side of her mouth. She did not say that, bitch, but long about.
The major problem with Israel is with the young generation of the Black community. The problem
Our delegation did not send for you. You have motherfucking problems close to home, bitch, that you need to be worried about, like this donated ass soup from Blue Cross and Blue Shield, bitch. Ain't no goddamn way you came to a press event looking like a stepped on Lego and had the nerve to motherfucker speak on our motherfucker. Just even mention us, bitch. Why is we even a topic of your discussion? You know why you had a private event, bitch? It's because you probably would have got a public ass whooping for saying this shit. Okay, you need to be worrying about this creamy wheat suit you got on, bitch. What is that, a double short sleeve, bitch?
You guys saw what the Israeli military is willing to do in the light. Now imagine what they are going to now do in the dark. They have cut the internet in Gaza. What I need you to do right now is flood the fucking internet and do not stop. Every single post you see about Palestine, engage with it, comment, save it, share it. Make as many posts as you can. When you repost something on Instagram, make sure to add something in it. Add a GIF, add your own words, something. Add to it. Engage with everybody's stories that are about Palestine right now. Call your local representatives. Flood their fucking phones. Call over and over and over again. The worst thing that you can do right now is to go silent, okay? Because the people in Gaza do not have a choice. We still have our voices out here. We need to use it. Israel has shut off the communication and internet in Gaza and said that they are entering a new phase. I got this information from Anat International's Instagram. She also has a TikTok. This is just about the most horrifying thing that can happen right now, and Al Jazeera can't even reach people to talk about it. If something terrible does happen, people can't call for an ambulance. A new phase can mean anything.
They killed 23 journalists, and that still didn't silence Palestinians in Gaza. They killed family members of journalists, and that still didn't silence them. They threatened Palestinians who have large platforms who are showing what's happening in Gaza, and that still didn't silence them. So they took it a step further, and now, just right now, they decided to cut off the internet completely, so Palestinians have no voice on the ground. Not only that, but it's being reported that Israeli warplanes launched the most violent series of airstrikes across the enclave. They are currently dropping bombs nonstop, and this isn't just in the north, this is also in the south. Palestinians have literally nowhere to go, nowhere to hide, nowhere that's safe, and it's not going to stop. To what end can they continue to punish and kill Palestinians, all while maintaining the fact that they are trying to get the hostages? They are on day 21. How much longer can this go on for? And when will those who are making excuses wake up? Because at this point, you can't claim ignorance any longer. And if this doesn't terrify you, then I don't know what else will.
Do guys really just not get it? A few nights ago, I found myself in a situation that made me question whether men genuinely understand the rules women often follow for their safety. My friend Mark and I had just wrapped up dinner at a bustling downtown restaurant. Due to the venue's popularity, we had to park in a garage 3 blocks away. We each drove our own cars. Mine was on the 3rd floor, and Mark's was on the 5th. As the clock struck 11, we left the restaurant. The streets were deserted, save for a few bars still in operation. When we reached the parking garage, the atmosphere changed. The elevator's doors closed behind us, and we could hear a cacophony of male voices, loud, boisterous, and clearly fueled by alcohol, echoing from one of the floors. When the elevator stopped at my floor, my heart sank. The group of men was positioned between the elevator and my car. One of them looked our way and commented, "I bet she's not as snobby as those bar girls." A wave of unease washed over me. I turned to Mark and asked if he could walk me to my car. He sighed, rolled his eyes, and reluctantly agreed, complaining about the inconvenience of waiting for the elevator again. I gripped my keys, one protruding from between each finger, and made a beeline for my car. I hugged the outer wall of the garage, putting as much distance as possible between myself and the group. Only when I was inches away from my car did I unlock it. I jumped in and sped off, my heart still pounding. Days later, during a game night at my house, Mark decided to recount the story, framing my actions as ridiculous. Another male friend chimed in, "We're not all out to attack women in parking garages, you know." One of my girlfriends interjected, pointing out that women can never be too sure about who poses a threat, be it friends, family, or strangers. The conversation shifted, but the question lingered in my mind, do men truly not get it? This isn't an isolated incident. My ex-husband would get annoyed when I asked him to lock the door if I was home alone. My brother couldn't comprehend why I wouldn't consider a ground floor apartment. A Tinder date was puzzled by my safety check-ins with a friend. And a former roommate didn't understand why I would peek through the peephole before opening the door to a stranger. So, I'm left to wonder, is it that difficult for men to grasp the constant vigilance many women feel compelled to maintain? And if so, why?
Imagine doing your job and reporting what's happening around you and giving a voice to the voiceless when suddenly your entire family gets killed. And then after losing your entire family just because you did your job, imagine turning on the news and seeing an Israeli journalist saying this: Generally, we know the target. For example, today there was a target, the family of an Al Jazeera reporter. In general, we know. But none of this is new information. In fact, Abby Martin covered this in her film that she released in 2019 on YouTube called Gaza Fights for Freedom. And what's really scary is when you commit war crimes, when you violate international law and do whatever you want and nobody stops you, imagine the abuse of power.
But the fact that there were no armed militants, were no use of weapons against soldiers, was no battle, as they say, makes their crimes that much more atrocious and undeniable. In fact, the official IDF Twitter account admitted on record that none of those shot were by accident. According to officials, nothing was carried out uncontrolled. Everything was accurate and measured, and we know where every bullet landed. Even more damning, Israeli General Zvi Fogel described how snipers identify and are given authorization to shoot children.
אני לא אחמד טיבי, אני צביקה פוגל, אני יודע איך ההוראות האלה מתקבלות, אני יודע איך צלף מבצע את הירי, אני יודע כמה אישורים הוא צריך לפני שהוא מקבל אישור לפתוח באש. זה לא גחמה של צלף כזה או אחר שמזהה עכשיו גוף קטן של ילד ומחליט שהוא יורה. מישהו מסמן לו היטב את המטרה ואומר לו בדיוק למה צריך לראות ומה האיום מאותו אחד. ולצערי הרב, לעתים כשיורים בגוף קטן והתכוונת לפגוע לו ביד או בכתף, שטח מדינת ישראל ולהרוג... דינו מוות? דינו מוות. מבחינתי כן, אם אפשר לראות פה רק כדי לעצור אותו ברגל או ביד, נהדר. אבל אם זה יותר מזה, אז כן, אם זה... אתה רוצה לבדוק אותי אדם של מי יותר סמיך? שלנו או שלהם?